I am Jane Peters, Jane Krause Peters, and I am the third daughter of Virginia, your sister. And I'd like to ask you a little bit about my mom.
Okay, do that.
Okay. Well, by my calculations, my mom was 11 years old by the time you were born.
Yes.
And I wonder if you could tell me what your first memories of her are when you were little.
Well, I just remember being in a house with all these older sisters. And so your mother was 11 when I was born. And I don't remember any particular bond I had with your mother. There were 4 sisters, and I can remember sitting around the dining room table, and everybody would be trying to get me to eat, and I wasn't a good eater, and to the great distress of my mother, I wouldn't eat, and I don't know. My childhood memories didn't really start till I was about 5 years old. I can remember when I was approaching 5 years old that life seemed more important to me, and I started to have memories at that time. I went to kindergarten, and your mom used to bring friends home from high school, or if not high school, grammar school.
That leads me right into the next question I was
Yes.
going to ask you. So you were 5 years old. By that time, my mom would have been 16.
Yes.
And my memories of being 16 myself and my own kids being 16, there was a lot going on in our life, but I wondered what you remember about my mom as a teenage girl.
I think she had a lot of boyfriends, and she and Kay were kind of bonded together, and she used to bring friends home from school, and our house was always a full, kind of noisy place. And as I say, I was still very young, but I was starting to store up certain memories. I didn't go to school. I went to kindergarten, and I can remember my first day of school in first grade at Immaculate Conception School, and the Sister Nazaretta, told me to sit in the first seat in the first row. So I did what I was told, and then there was a window in the door, and I looked up, and there was your mother looking at me and kind of smiling, and she had a couple of friends with her. They just came out of curiosity, I guess, to see how I was surviving first grade. That I have a very clear memory of. And I can remember the day your mother graduated from high school, and there was a group picture taken of our family. And I sent you this group picture some years ago. I sent one to everybody in the family. I was at that time, I guess, 5 years old. My mother made all the dresses that we had on. She was a good sewer, and we had a lot of people back at the house, and my father had a very nice garden there. He was very proud of his flowers. I was not interested in flowers at that time. And I have a very clear memory. Your mother won the English medal at graduation in her class. She was always a good writer and storyteller, and she won that prize. And at that time, the Depression, of course, was on, and there were not many jobs for people graduating from high school. Jobs were scarce. And of course, the Prudential Insurance Company was in Newark. And you had to know somebody to get into the Prudential Insurance, but somehow your mother got in. I think her salary was something like $12 a week. And she was very lucky to get $12 a week. And she had to take the bus to Newark, and she thought that was great to have a job.
You remember a lot.
Did she ever tell you about that?
I don't think she ever told us about that particular thing.
Yeah, because she thought she was at the top of the world.
Well, the next question then is, what do you remember about how my mom met our dad? And where did they meet and how did they end up together?
Well, there was a club. It was called the Mercier Club. Did they ever tell you about that?
Maybe. Probably Carol more because she was
It was
quite a bit older.
a club for Catholic young people. And they used to meet every Sunday afternoon in Glen Ridge. And the boys would go looking for girls, and the girls would go looking for boys. And that's where your parents met, and that's also where Kay met Frank, at the Mercier Club. And then, of course, in 1941, the war started. Your mother graduated high school, I think in 1935. So she had some time working for the Prudential. And that's where she met your father. And I guess he was drafted. And that's the way it was. Most every man was drafted, except somebody that had a serious medical problem. The men all went off to war after Pearl Harbor in December 1941. And I can remember the day of Pearl Harbor. Everybody in the family was very excited because they heard on the radio. Of course, there was no TV, but they heard on the radio that the Japanese were bombing Pearl Harbor, and I didn't understand what it was all about. But then the next day, they declared war on Japan, and that was a grim time, because then they I guess they increased drafting men, and a lot of men went and volunteered for the Army or Navy, whichever they preferred, and they all went off to camps for basic training, and your father was assigned to a camp in Maryland. I think it was Camp George Meade, and he used to come home on weekends because his parents lived in East Orange, Daisy and John. And he used to come home on a lot of weekends, but he had to be back on Sunday afternoon. And so somebody would drive him to Penn Station in Newark, where he would get the train back to Camp Meade. And so there were changed times, that's for sure. And there were shortages of things. I know there was a shortage of butter and meats, and things were rationed. But I don't remember being deprived of anything really important. I think we still had meat to eat. And there was a black market, unfortunately. A lot of people would cheat and somehow get hold of meats. But we were okay. We were okay. And you know, I don't think I took the war as seriously as I could have, because I was only 12 years old when the war started. So I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you is, I remember our mom speaking about the move to Grand Rapids a lot when we were little, and she seemed to have a lot of memories about that.
About Grand Rapids?
But I, of course, was not born yet.
Okay.
And I do know that a little bit about, where they lived and everything. But I've often wondered how she related back to, I know she missed her mom greatly and she missed her family. And what was it like for her that first couple of years when she had no family around her?
I think life was kind of grim for her. But I think she made the best of it and did the best she could. And there weren't many phone calls made. Today you just pick up the phone, you can call California or wherever. At that time, a long distance phone call was a very big deal. And we would all gather around the phone and each took a turn, and you would shout into the phone because you thought your voice had to go a long way and it wouldn't get there if you didn't shout. And I imagine it was hard for her to get accustomed to it. But she did the best she could, and she had nice neighbors, and she liked it when some of us would go and visit. She really liked that, and we liked it too. And then your parents would drive back for Christmas, which was no easy task, but they wouldn't think of staying there for Christmas until some years and more children, and they decided it was too much of a job, so they stayed home for Christmas. But they came I think they came every single year.
I know that.
And we put them up somewhere.
Yeah. I was born 11 months after Ginny was born.
Okay.
So I know that my mom had a small toddler. She had a baby, and then shortly after she got to Grand Rapids, became pregnant with another child,
Yes.
me, and that all happened without her mom being around her. And I was only 11 months, there was only 11 months between us.
Yeah. Well, by that time, she knew quite a bit about baby care, because she had had Carol and Ginny, so she knew what to do. And I'm sure she missed her family, but she did the best she could. And I don't think she cried on anybody's shoulder. But she got along. She got along.
It's good to hear these things, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate you.
Did she
sharing
tell
with
you
me.
anything about this, the transition from New Jersey to Michigan?
Yes. I used to ask her, were you really sad when you found out you were going to have another baby, because she had a baby
Yes.
and a toddler, and she said, I was way too busy, to be upset about it, I just had so much.
But she took it all in
Yes,
stride.
she did. She
Yeah.
never complained.
And fortunately, she had good neighbors. And then, because the housing shortage, I think, continued for some years before everybody could find a comfortable place to live. Yeah.
Well, I just
So do you
always,
have any other questions?
no, I don't, and I appreciate your answering those. I know that she always appreciated when you came to Grand
Yeah, I
Rapids
came,
and to
Jean
Royal
went,
Oak.
Irene went. Irene, of course, joined the Navy as a Navy nurse. But we all got out there because it was the first time anybody had left our territory, except for Irene joining the Navy. And so we all got used to it. We all got used to it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
When did you start remembering things in your young life?
I think I was 4.
4? Yeah.
I was 4 years old because I remember something very specific. And it's the only thing I really remember about being in Grand Rapids. I had my tonsils out when I was 4, and I went into a doctor's office to have that done. They put a mask over my face for ether, took the tonsils out, took me home, and my mom told me to lay on the sofa because the doctor wanted me to rest. In the meantime, she and my dad and whoever else was there, it could have been you, all went out into the backyard and had a beer party. But what she didn't know was that a little friend, a kid who lived on our street, knocked on our door while they were all out in the backyard. And I was the only one there to answer the door. So I got up and the little person wanted to know if I wanted to come out and play. So my mom and dad were in the backyard. I didn't think I had to ask them. So a couple hours after my surgery, I disappeared. Some hours later, I guess somebody came in to check on me. Anyway, apparently there was a neighborhood-wide search for me.
Really?
Because they couldn't find me. And I always joked with her about the fact that you left me, to my own defenses. But apparently I was very safe in this little kid's yard that they didn't really know, down in his basement playing with his
How long did it
toys.
take them to find you?
She says only a few minutes, but I'm not so sure. I don't know. She always sort of felt bad about that. She would tease me about that.
Yeah. Well, you made it, and your
Here I am.
tonsils are gone, and you're
Robert.
healthy today, I hope. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jane.